Good morning. It's Saturday morning, and I'm going to read this book because I wanted to read it one more time before I give it to Silas and Forrest. I read it at the Ewings, and it was very interesting, and I learned things from it. So I feel like I'm going to read it again, so I'll learn again. Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began wiggling and twisting this way and that. It's time for me to lay my eggs, she said. Can I help? Said Mr. Seahorse. Oh, yes, thank you, said Mrs. Seahorse, and she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. I'll take good care of our eggs, said Mr. Seahorse. I promise. And as Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed through. What did he pass through? This is so fun. A group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. So here are the reeds, and then here are the trumpet fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Stickleback? That's Mr. Stickleback. Delighted, replied Mr. Stickleback. I just built a nest. And right away, Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. So Mr. Stickleback is taking care. Keep up the good work, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. Looks like some seaweed or something. What is it? A lionfish. Oh, it's a coral reef. It's just so brown, I guess. But I guess coral can be brown. A coral reef. A lionfish is hidden behind a coral reef. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Tilapia? Tilapia, that's a big fish, asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. That is crazy. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you're taking good care of them until they hatch. And Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. Nod. You must be very happy, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam away. And Mr. Tilapia nodded his head again. That is very interesting, isn't it? I did not know that at all. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. What's this? A pair of leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. So this is seaweed, which makes sense because it is green. So these are leaf fish. You can see why they're called leaf fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Curtis? Curtis, I guess, asked Mr. Seahorse. I don't even know what kind of fish that is. I'll have to look it up. Curtis. Pretty fine, replied Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and I have stuck them on my head. That's very funny. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. You are doing a good job, said Mr. Seahorse, and swam on his way. I never heard of a Curtis fish. I think I meant to look it up last time when I read this book. I forgot. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by. What do you think that is? Maybe a rock or something. Stonefish. That's right, huh? A stonefish hidden behind a rock. This is a stonefish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Pipe? Oh, my goodness, look at that fish. He is long. Asked Mr. Seahorse. How are you, Mr. Pipe? I couldn't be better, replied Mr. Pipe. Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Oh, that's what these are. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. You should feel proud of yourself, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Bullhead? There's a bullhead. Looks like a bullhead catfish. Tip-top, replied Mr. Bullhead. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs, and the eggs hatched, and now I'm babysitting. Look at all those eggs. Should we count them? You are doing a fine job, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Let's count them. How many baby bullheads are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18. I think they're bullhead catfish, maybe. We'll have to look that up too. We're learning a lot in this book. And then the time had come for the Seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that, and at last the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back. Oh, which one's that? Looks like it's that one. No, no, said Mr. Seahorse, I do love you, but now you are ready to be on your own. So how many baby seahorses are there? 1 still getting out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I counted them in a funny way. Maybe I should count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 seahorse babies. Isn't that cute? The end. And Eric Carle, who wrote this book, and I think illustrated it also, says, Dear friends, in most fish families, after the mother has laid the eggs, they are left on their own. But there are exceptions, such as the seahorse, stickleback, tilapia, curtis, nursery fish, pipefish, bullhead catfish, oh, it is a catfish, I told you, bullhead catfish, and some others. Not only are the eggs cared for by a parent, but, surprise, that parent is the father. And this is my story about them. It is really a good story, don't you think? And the illustrations are beautiful. So I've enjoyed this. I hope you have too. And we can remember these fish that are a little different than some of the others. It's a good learning experience and fun. Love you guys. Bye-bye.